We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Vikings Uncensored. Apologize for the brief delay there. Had a little bit of technical difficulty we had to take care of here right at the very start to the show. But we're here. We're live. It is a Thursday night. There is NFL football going on tonight as we speak. I think the Eagles are playing somebody right now. The Colts and the Ravens are playing earlier, and I believe Seattle and the Raiders play a little bit later on. So enough to wet your whistle of a little bit of preseason football tonight anyway. Dave, good evening. Ant, good evening. Doc, good evening. Good evening, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining us once again. We have reached, as we mentioned, game time for the preseason. The Vikings will play their first preseason game Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. Central Time, I believe it is, at US Bank Stadium against the Houston Texans. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But Eagles 34, Bengals 17, fourth quarter. Wow. I'm glad I didn't really have to spend too much time watching that game then, because it doesn't sound like it's that great. AJ, good evening. Welcome, brother. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Of course, we're in the meat and potatoes of training camp right now. The pads have been on for a good week plus now.
Things are going to get kind of snippy.
Yep, we had that on Saturday. Had some guys who probably shouldn't be getting into fights with people who are locks to be on the roster.
Right.
Started off, Brian Asamoah got into it with, who was it?
Aaron Jones. He laid a lick on Aaron Jones and then threw a punch at Will Fries.
Yeah, and then J.J. McCarthy got in the middle of it and broke everybody up. And he said his hockey enforcer mentality kind of took in, and he stepped in to get the – and then there was another one after that, too. I think it was at Tyler Batty, I think – it might have been Aaron Jones again that got leveled later on.
Or Aaron Jones.
Yeah. Old man getting knocked all over the place. But
yeah, try doing that to Jordan Mason.
Yeah. I saw a picture of Jordan Mason standing next to Aaron Jones the other day. And, I mean, that dude's got freaking tree trunks for legs. I didn't realize he was as big as he is.
Dude, he is built. He is
freaking stacked. I mean, we've got a guy that can get us some short yardage here now and coming up this year. So.
Brick shit house.
Yes. The shit of the bricks is made in the house. But anyway, let's roll into it here. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. So Some news from around the league to begin with. News came out today. Chargers star left tackle Rashawn Slater tore his patellar tendon, is out for the year.
Wow. We were big on Slater when he came out too.
I like me some Rashawn Slater. He's a hell of a left tackle. Yep. I feel bad for the guy. I feel bad for the Chargers. I mean, that lose a guy of that caliber. I mean, well, we know what it's like. We've had Darisaw got hurt last year, and once before too. So
I think Slater's had his battles with injuries too throughout his career. I mean, I think he's only been in the league for a few years, but poor guy can't stay healthy.
Yeah, good. Yeah, Ennis Rekestra too from the Detroit, out for the year. I forget what his injury was, wasn't it? I think it was something near.
Wow, that Detroit line, that Detroit Lions offensive line is starting to look a little shaky.
Yeah, well, Rekestra is not a lineman; he's a defensive player. But
my bad.
But anyway, I read something today, and I didn't dive into it too much, but there is some rumblings out of Detroit that their new offensive coordinator isn't transitioning over quite as quickly as they would have liked. C.J. Gardner-Johnson out today. Yeah, I saw that today too. The injuries are piling up, especially for a lot of these big-name guys. Another one earlier tonight, Anthony Richardson for the Colts got leveled earlier too. Oh, Andy.
Yeah,
Our resident Chicago Bears fan is in the house. Since I'm live and I don't have it up with me, I can't post the picture of Caleb Williams laying flat on the ground like I always do when you come up with your off the wall takes like that. But just envision Caleb Williams laying flat on the ground after he just got run over by Jonathan Gennard, and then that'll be your answer to that one.
I don't know. I've seen some sick Caleb Williams passes coming out of Chicago camp this year that are literally sick.
Yeah, the passes are making Chicago Bears fans sick. Yeah,
right.
Bilal Cohen tore an ACL and MCL in tonight's game. I heard somebody did something to a knee, but I didn't see who it was. That stuff like this, it's just pushing more and more towards getting rid of these preseason games altogether.
Just doing joint practices.
Yeah, and that, I think that's the way it's going to go here sooner rather than later, especially if they go to an 18-game season. They're going to take away at least one of the remaining three anyway. But
the way it's sounding is that KOC is just going to use the joint practices for the starters, basically, and then when the preseason games come around, it's going to be mostly depth guys playing after the first one anyways.
Right, yeah, because McCarthy, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but McCarthy is going to play on Saturday. I'd expect maybe a couple of series out of him, depending upon how the first one goes. If he, marches him down the field, gets a touchdown.
I look for a quarter and a half or a quarter of a quarter of a quarter. I look for at least a quarter of play out of McCarthy for sure.
Andy, hearing the Lions' offense struggle. Yeah, I heard that today too, Andy. You guys have their offensive coordinator now. I mean, it's not going real well for you guys, but that's because of the quarterback, not because of the head coach. But I'm hearing there's some struggles coming out of Detroit so far. I mean, and it's preseason. We don't know for sure until we load up on week one and the actual live rounds start firing. But they didn't look good in the Hall of Fame game last week. So 2 series for McCarthy wouldn't surprise me, Ant. That's kind of what I was thinking.
I look for 3 to 4.
I mean, I know KOC had talked today about getting him reps, but you don't want to have happen like what happened to Anthony Richardson or one of these other guys. Get him hurt again,
or like what happened to him last year, getting hurt in the preseason.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, I look for 3 to 4 series, but you might be right. 2 series may be it, but I look for a quarter to a quarter and a half of play out of McCarthy.
Well, I doubt he plays beyond this weekend.
Right.
Yeah, Caleb is in preseason. Well, yeah, that is true, but we saw him in regular season last year too. So
I agree with this, and this is beginning to start to become more of a trending issue here.
Yep, and we'll talk about that too in a little bit. But I got a couple other news items I want to get to first, and then we'll start talking about some of the camp stuff. Of course, other big news, Minnesota Vikings related this week. The long anticipated suspension for Jordan Addison was handed down this week. He will miss the first 3 games of the regular season. He said today that they will not be appealing it. Okay. He's just going to take his medicine and ride it up.
Put it in the rear window and move forward.
Which, I mean, realistically makes sense because the first 2 games of the year are definitely games that they should be able to win even without Addison.
You know what? I honestly believe that Cincinnati game is winnable too. That their organization is a dumpster fire right now.
Yeah. As long as our defense plays the way we expect it to play, I think we'll be okay. You know, their offense is good. I mean, you know, that
offensive line isn't very great. That offensive line isn't very great. But I mean, as far as weapons goes, yeah, and when you got Joe Burrow, anything can happen.
Right.
But as far as the organizational standpoint goes, it's a dumpster fire, Rhino.
Well, and the Bengals typically start slow every year with Burrow. You know, it takes them 3-4 games to get into that rhythm. And Cincinnati's defense is going to be trash this year. I mean, they still haven't got things figured out with Trey Hendrickson. They did sign
Shamar Stewart. They got rookies holding out still, and
no, Stewart signed now.
Oh, he did.
He did. Sign, yeah, he signed last week, I think it was. But
okay.
But yeah, you know, they spent all their money basically on Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and don't have a whole lot left otherwise. But Brunswick being funny, use the card.
You got that. You got that.
Yeah. I see what you did there. Beyond that, former Viking Anthony Barr this week announcing his retirement. So best wishes to him. You know, he was a good player when he was here, and
he was a good player. I don't think he was able to play up to his potential, and a lot of that had to do with how he was used on defense.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Should have used him more when he was still with us, we talked about that extensively. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, they should have used him as more of a pass rusher than as a, just now
off-ball linebacker. Yep.
Otherwise, a couple of injury notes for the Vikings. Justin Jefferson still not practicing. Looks good on the sidelines, but I know KOC said today it's up in the air yet as to whether or not he'll be in the joint practices next week with the Patriots.
We talked about it last week. You know, with guys like Jefferson, that's a once-in-a-generation type of player at the position, you err on the side of caution regardless.
Yeah, you do. I mean, it would be nice to get him some reps with McCarthy, though, to get that.
That's very true.
You know, that rapport build up there. Because right now he's getting all of that with Jordan Addison, and then Addison's going to be gone for the first 3 weeks. So
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, when he came back, what was it, last or year before or whatever it was, you know, he was a shell of his former self, so it wasn't quite. But yeah, Flores would have gotten a lot more out of Barr than Zimmer ever did.
I expect this defense to be one of the better defenses that the Vikings have had in the last 10 to 20 years this season.
This should be at least on par with the
with Zimmer's prime defense.
2017-ish Zimmer defense, I would think. Yeah. Otherwise, of course, TJ Hawkinson missed a few practices with an injury. Now, he was back today. Heard a couple of snippets from training camp. He caught a couple of really nice passes from McCarthy, so that's a good sign. You know, he's got to stay healthy this year because he is going to be an absolute weapon in the intermediate for McCarthy.
Do you have – I know I might be getting ahead of the boat here, but do you have anything wrote down about the Rossini and Coward fucking conversation?
We'll talk about that in a couple minutes. I got it on the list. Wanted to get through the injury stuff here first, and then we can talk about that.
Gotcha.
Gavin Bartholomew, of course, the tight end that we drafted this year.
He's looking at not making the team.
Why he's going to go on injured reserve, pretty sure of it here. Because
right.
Listening to Judd the other day, he said that he's got a back injury, and it kind of looks like it's a longer term thing. So he expects him to go on season-ending IR, and they'll just stash him on IR.
Stash him away. Yeah, that's kind of what we figured last week too.
Yep. So with that, the Vikings did sign journeyman tight end Nick Van Etten, 10-year veteran who played with the Titans. Yeah, I mean he's played for like 8 or 9 different teams, I think. He's
been around, that's for sure.
He's probably a Johnny Munt type at best, but it's a body with experience, and right now you have no experience behind Hawkinson and Oliver, so.
Right.
What's his face?
I agree, Ant. Yurasek is your tight end.
I'm pretty sure that's the way it's going to go. It sounds like
unless Vanette beats him out. I think his biggest competition is Vanette as far as that tight end 3 position goes.
Yeah,
but also you got to take youth. You got to take youth into account here too, as well.
Yeah, and I've heard Yurasek's been having a pretty good camp, so I think he's probably going to be your tight end 3. Which I made that prediction after the draft and with those with the UDFA class that one of those UDFA guys was probably going to be better than the guy we drafted. So, but we'll see what happens there. But yeah, let's roll on. Since you brought that up, let's roll into that, and then we'll talk about some of the stuff out of camp this week. But yeah, the personal crusade against J.J. McCarthy by Colin Cowherd and Diana Rossini stepped it up a freaking notch this week. And I don't want to waste too much time on it because those two are freaking – it's a personal vendetta, and that's all it is. Colin Cowherd is still pissed off that the Vikings ditched his boy Sam Darnold to go with McCarthy instead. And Diana Rossini is still pissed off because she threw all credibility that she had out the fucking parking lot, dumped 5 gallons of gas on it, and lit it on fire when she tried her damnedest to speak Aaron Rodgers to Minnesota into existence. And she's done it
a couple times now this season.
Yeah, but even after the Vikings came out and said they weren't had no interest in Aaron Rodgers at this time and stuff like that. She was still pushing it. He's going to be a Viking by July. Well, Diana, it's August. He's in Pittsburgh, and he's, all of us knew he wasn't coming here. I mean, we talked about it back then.
Where she's bullshitting with their news, and
but she's out there with the Vikings are falsely propping up McCarthy because he's not living up to expectations, but they don't want to look like they made a mistake, so they're falsely propping him up and all of this shit. And Two-Tone, good evening, my friend. Welcome to the show. But all I can say about all of that, and then I'm going to leave it at that, is I cannot wait for J.J. McCarthy to serve all of these people that are out to get him a gigantic shit sandwich on a silver fucking platter.
Yeah. Eat some crow.
With a side of fucking crow. Yep.
Yep. And this defense has got a lot to do with how McCarthy's looking right now.
Oh, absolutely it does.
Well, you look at last year during training camp. McCarthy was pushing Darnold for that number 1 for the starting spot.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get the turnaround on defense this year, and it's night and day.
Yeah, well, we have an interior pass rush now. And we have Dallas Turner, who's on a year 2, who's by all rights has been.
And we got some speed out at cornerback right now, too, where the corners can run with the receivers that we have. So,
yeah, you've got McLaughlin, who's that kid is turning into an absolute ball hawk. I mean, he's around the ball every freaking play.
And then you got Okudah playing for his football life out there.
Yep.
And who's starting to look like the Jeff Okudah that came into the league from Ohio State.
He likes the Okuda. Looks like the Okuda now that was drafted 3rd overall.
Right.
And then you've got Zemiah Vaughn, who he is going to make the 53-man roster.
Right.
I'll say that right now. And he was my pick for Mr. Mankato, and I fully believe that he's going to be that guy. But then up front too, you've got Javon Hargrave has had by multiple people that I follow and read and everything else. They say he's having one of the best camps of anybody out there right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
and I think eventually somewhere down the road, Rhino, you're going to have Jalen Redmond pushing Harrison Phillips for some playing time in that first string defense.
But Redmond's more he's not a nose tackle.
Either is Harrison Phillips.
No, he's not. But right now it's LDR and Redmond are the twos as far as the defensive ends or tackles or whatever you want to call them in the 3-4.
The 3 down linemen. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, your outside 2 in the 3 down set. Yep. And Redmond, the night practice the other night, he had a really good practice the other night. One guy, since we're talking about the line, one guy that's really stood out in a lot of just the clips I've seen is Walter Rouse. He's been running as the right tackle 2 behind Brian O'Neill.
Good, and we were just questioning that last week too. So
yeah, I mean, we talked about him maybe being a guard, but they pushed him out as the backup right tackle, and I mean he was holding his own against Dallas Turner and Jonathan Gennard.
Good
so
news.
I mean, and I liked Walter Rouse coming out last year.
I do too. Got a good head on his shoulders.
Right. And these linemen, it takes a little bit of time for these guys to get stuff figured out a lot of times, especially when you're a late round pick like he was.
Right. And another thing with these tackles is he's going to need to step it up now that this guy that we just brought in just got injured. That Nelson.
Well, he was a jag anyway, but Rouse is also taking snaps at left tackle ahead of School. Yes, School has not really impressed me all that much from what I've seen. He was getting worked pretty hard. But if Rouse can
go get it, take it.
Yeah, if Rouse can be that number 1 swing tackle, if Rouse can be
that Mike.
Yeah, not swinging the microphone, swinging the tackle. If he can be that guy that can play both sides, I mean, yeah, that's awesome. Good evening, Ryan. Land of Ice and Snow. Hey, there's a new face in the crowd tonight. Good evening. Welcome to the show. Fun watching Jared Allen, the Hall of Fame ceremony. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing, but I saw parts of it anyway, and Jared Allen's as entertaining as he always was. So it's
fucking ripped his pants doing his fucking celebration on stage there at the Hall of Fame.
Hey, why not?
It was great.
Put his frickin' Levi's next to the mullet statue in the Hall of Fame there. And
also, to all you new watchers and viewers, if you haven't already, like and subscribe.
Absolutely. Whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on Twitter, whether you are on YouTube, hey, go like and follow us on all 3 of them. We would really appreciate that. But yeah, since we brought this up earlier, let's talk about this now. The continued struggles of the backup quarterback. Everybody that I'm hearing, the media guys and stuff that are there every day are just saying Sam Howell is having a extremely hard time figuring stuff out. And that's a little concerning.
It is.
I mean, ideally, we don't have to worry about the backup quarterback, but
you would hope not. But like I said last week, in the last decade, the backup quarterbacks came into. We've had to use them,
right,
on numerous occasions. So,
yeah, and unless Howell and we'll see how he plays on Saturday because I'm sure I'm assuming he's going to play a fair amount.
I agree. Yeah.
But we may have to start looking for somebody else because I don't think Brett Rippon is a guy you want to have rely on.
No, and Brosmer just ain't ready for that next step.
No,
I don't believe.
Brosmer's a guy, or Brosmer, however you say it, Brosmer, is a couple years out. He's a developmental guy. I know they like him.
Yeah, they like it, but I mean, I don't see him as much more than a quarterback 3 at the most at this point.
No, Brosmer's going to be a practice squad guy this year. I mean, I think whether it's Howell or whether we go get somebody else, will be quarterback 2. Brett Rippon will be the QB3 emergency quarterback guy, and Brosmer will be the practice squad guy. I don't think.
I think Brosmer has a legit shot at quarterback 3, but
maybe
we'll see.
And we'll see what happens in the preseason games. But
I think you got to take a look at Carson Wentz or talk to Ryan Tannehill again if you can't figure things out. Or you wait until cut down day and see what's getting cut out.
Yeah, or see how some of these backups play in the preseason, and if you got to float a late round draft pick to go get somebody, somebody who you think can step in well enough, and that can fit into KOC's system, you go and do it. I mean, yeah, but like you said, Carson Wentz is still sitting out there. He's a free agent. Would I want Carson Wentz to be?
They've had discussions with him.
Yep. And
earlier in the offseason, they've talked to Tannehill.
Right, and Tannehill, it's got to be at the point.
I look for Brosmer to play on Saturday.
Yeah. Trey Lance, I mean, that's an option.
I'd be for that. He looked good the last Chargers game, and with under KOC's tutelage, I'd be okay bringing in Lance as a backup.
Yeah, and because I'm not sure, I don't know what the quarterback situation is in with the Chargers right now behind Justin Herbert. Is Lance 2 or is he 3?
See, I don't know about that, but I know that they had Stick there for a while, who wasn't much of anything.
Yeah, but Stick went someplace else this year. He's not there anymore.
Okay. I'm guessing Lance is quarterback 2 because he started.
And if he's quarterback 2, I don't think they're going to want to trade him. But
right.
if he's QB 2, they're not going to trade him because they're not. Herbert's had some injury concerns, a couple of times too, so they're not going to want to do something like that. But I mean, there's guys out there who could potentially come in and.
Joe Johnson.
What's that?
Josh Johnson.
Yeah, no.
He's been on every team except for Minnesota.
Pretty much. Well, I know. Wasn't he here at one point in time?
I think he might have been.
I think he was like on the practice squad, or he was the emergency quarterback for like 2 games or some fucking thing like that.
Right, but no, we need to really start thinking about that quarterback 2 spot, and if Howell's really going to be the guy, or if we need to go start looking for somebody else.
Yeah. Oh, Taylor Heineke's is quarterback 2, and okay, well, yeah. Then if that's the case, then maybe they would part with Trey Lance. I don't know.
And I'd be okay with either one of those guys, Heineke or Lance.
Yeah, I'd take Heineke as a backup quarterback too. Absolutely. I mean, he's got plenty of starting experience. He's got playoff experience.
And he's been here. He's been here before.
Yeah,
so
yeah. I mean, it was different regime at that time, but yeah. Other than that, the backup wide receiver position is starting to get a little concerning. Of course, now we know that Addison's going to miss the first 3 weeks. Naylor has been dealing with the case of the dropsies.
Stone hands?
Yeah. Which is not a good look. I mean, he had that problem a little bit last year.
He did last year. He did. His contested catch rate is not very good right now.
No. And some of this. But it seems like it's a problem with a lot of the backup wide receivers. So I don't know if they're, especially the guys that were here last year, if it's a difference in velocity coming off of Darnold versus coming off of McCarthy, or what the deal is. But right now, Lucky Jackson is probably our best backup wide receiver.
That's the way it's looking. Yeah, Rondale Moore had himself a day the other day though too. But I don't like the fact that he's not a high stature guy as far as that goes. He's only 5'7". You can only do
he's more of that. Look, he's more of a gimmicky type guy. Some guy.
He's a gadget guy for sure.
Yeah. And then
Then you got your Jeshaun Jones and
Ty Felton. Looks like he's got a ways to go before he's going to be much of a contributor. I mean, he's going to make.
To see much of Ty Felton at all this year with the way he's having camp right now. To be honest,
no, I mean
he's going to make something during preseason.
He's going to make the roster, the bench. But he's
making the roster.
Yeah, he'll be a special teams guy this year and stuff. But
I don't look for much out of him as far as offensive productivity goes this year. So, but he is listed at as the number one kick returner though. So.
Yeah. And we'll talk about the depth chart here in just a couple minutes. But again, in the cornerback room, Jeff Okudah still having himself a hell of a camp. If the season started today, he would be your cornerback 3.
Oh, he's starting on the outside with Rodgers on the other side and having Murphy down in the slot. So that's our starting cornerback grouping right there.
As it sits right now, yeah.
Unless Blackman comes in during the preseason and lights it up. So.
Yeah, but Blackman has had a pretty slow camp so far. I don't know if he's still, not 100% trust himself on the way back. Now, the two guys that are having a very good camp, we talked about earlier, Nudie McGlothern and Zemiah Vaughn. Those two guys right there, are one of those two, I think right now is going to be your cornerback 4. The other one is cornerback 5.
All the guys that we've mentioned so far as corner group, those are the guys that are making the cornerback room.
Yep.
And everybody else outside of that is not going to be sticking around at all.
Yeah, so I mean,
you got Rodgers, you got Okudah, you got Murphy, you got Blackman, you got McGlothern, and you got Vaughn. Those are your 6 corner. That's your cornerback room right there.
That's going to be your 6 cornerbacks. Yeah. Then another position battle going on here. Xavier Scott is really putting the pressure on Ty Chandler for the 3rd running back spot.
That last week.
Yeah, and it sounds like he's still, he's impressing a lot of people in camp from what I've heard,
especially with his receiving capabilities out of the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and he can block, which is something that Ty Chandler can't do. Which
I'm ready to move off that Ty Chandler train. So
I am too. I mean, I like Ty Chandler as a running back, as a runner anyway. But if you can't pass block, especially as the 3rd running back, you really don't have a place on the team.
Yeah.
But the other one we talked about, Will Richard last week, or Reichert, sorry, had it had a kind of a rough start to camp. He was like 13 out of 17 or something like that. But then
he's turned it around though.
Yep, night practice he went out and he went 6 for 6 and looked pretty good. So hopefully he's getting over what was ailing him or the yips he had or whatever. Do you want Scott, who's not a household name?
You need that youth. You need some youth in that running back room, and that'd be your youth right there.
And I don't give a shit about household names. If the kid can play, I don't care if his name is Joe Bag of fucking Donuts.
Right, and like I said, you want that youth in that running back. You don't want 3 vets carrying the ball. You got to have some youth.
No, you got to have a guy that's going to be a developmental guy. Now, I mean,
exactly.
Yeah,
yes.
If there is a top flight running back that gets released, that you can go pick him up on the cheap as your 3rd running back, and then you can move, Scott to the practice squad.
I don't.
I mean, yeah, I'm just saying a hypothetical situation here. If that's the case, yeah, I can listen to that. But and we'll see how he plays in preseason here. But we've talked about this for the entire 5 years we've had this show. Is that I've never been a big fan of giving second contracts to running backs. So you got to keep that pipeline going.
We didn't try anything with Dwayne McBride.
No. McBride was on the practice squad.
Ty Chandler was the role that you're thinking about, and
yeah, McBride was just on the practice squad, and you can't compare Dwayne McBride to Xavier Scott because they're 2 completely different players. Just because one guy didn't pan out doesn't mean the next guy's not going to pan out. You can go through and list off a ton of very good running backs in this league who were late round draft picks or undrafted free agents or guys that have gone out there and made a very solid career for themselves. So,
And if you got somebody like Scott working his ass off and earning his right out of the roster, you don't go out and you get a veteran to fucking take his spot.
No, you don't. If the kid can earn the spot, then yes. Now, if he comes out in the joint practices and the preseason games and looks lost,
some issues arise,
then yeah, then you definitely watch the waiver wire. But if the kid earns the spot, you give him the spot. I don't care. Like I said, we don't need to have a household name. You're not going to go get Derrick Henry for your third running back just because you know what the
right?
name
We
is.
already got Mason and Jones ahead of him. If Scott earns the spot, you let him take it.
I mean, this is a guy who's just going to spell, your other guys maybe 5-6 snaps a game. Yeah, tell me about it, Doc. And he's maybe would be working. He would work in on the special teams, whether it's as a return guy or whether it's a gunner or whatever kind of stuff there. But
it's funny because KOC is actually talking about running some 2-back sets too now, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, you put Aaron Jones and
Jordan Mason.
Mason in that backfield at the same time. I like that idea. I've always been a fan of throwing in some 2-back sets.
I was hoping to see more of that when Chester Taylor and Adrian Peterson were here, but we never got any of that. So
no. But that was most of that was
years and years ago.
And it doesn't matter.
You get some of those kiddos in here, and they're like, "Who's Chester Taylor?"
Right. Anyway, anything else you want to hit from the camp, or should we roll into the depth chart?
No, I think we could roll into the depth chart.
All right. So, as is standard for the preseason, the first unofficial depth chart was released earlier this week. Of course, with the game coming up this weekend, I want to give a shout out to our buddy Chris Gates over at Daily Norseman. I'm using his write-up here on the depth chart to go through stuff. So I'll read it off here, and if you see or hear anything that's kind of jumps out at you, we can stop. Same with you guys in the chat. If you see something, throw a comment in there, and we will stop and talk about it. But quarterback, obviously, no big surprise there. J.J. McCarthy listed as your starter. Backups, Sam Howell, Brett Rippon, Max Brosmer.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about Sam Howell earlier. I don't know that this is how the depth chart will look. I don't
know that he makes the final roster cut like we've discussed earlier today.
Yeah,
so.
unless he picks it up. But running backs, your starter is Aaron Jones. Backups, Jordan Mason, Ty Chandler, Xavier Scott, and Trey Stewart.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And like we said, you could almost take Scott and put him where Chandler is at this point. So
yeah, and Mason and Jones, I think, are going to be real close to 50-50.
I think so too. I think 60-40 with Mason towards the end of the season. You're going to see Mason.
It's very possible. I mean, and you start rolling with the hot hand if Mason can start looking like he did when he was subbing for McCaffrey.
And he's fast for his size. He is a quick fucking guy for his size.
And he's got power, and he's not just a hit the hole and go kind of guy. He can make some cuts and some moves and stuff too. So, next fullback starter C.J. Ham, backups nobody.
It's kind of how it's been. That's kind of the tail of the tape here in Minnesota for the last 7 years.
Yep. One of these years, we're just going to say fuck it, and not go with a tight end or fullback.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. I was thinking that 2 years ago. Are we going to keep CJ Ham? But somehow he's sticking. And he's a hell of a lead blocker too. So that
he's a captain. He's a great guy for special teams and stuff too. So, but yeah, his day will come eventually. But
yep.
Wide receiver 1. Big surprise here, Justin Jefferson. Giovanni Ricci's listed as a fullback tight end. Okay. I did not see that, but Well, everybody likes ham, Doc. I mean, that's just the way it is. But wide receiver 1 backups, Jalen Naylor, Ty Felton, Dante Fleming, Miles Price, and Robert Lewis. And of course, Ty Felton being the draft pick this year. Rest of the guys are, just a who are these fucking guys kind of thing.
Yeah, unless Ty Felton goes and has a brain fart and does something stupid, he's making the roster. So,
yeah, like we talked about earlier, I don't expect a lot out of him right now because from what I've heard, he's a ways off from being able to be a solid contributor. But wide receiver 2, starter Jordan Addison. Lucky Jackson is the main backup. Then Rondale Moore, Tim Jones, Jeshaun Jones, Thayer Thomas, and Silas Bolden.
Yeah.
Kind of, I mean, not really, I guess, from the way camp has gone with Lucky Jackson being the main backup there.
You got a lot of these fans that love them, some Lucky Jackson, too. I'm rooting for the guy, but
yeah.
We'll see.
I mean, he's not a young pup anymore. He's like 28 years old, I think, and he's been around for quite a while.
And he's played in some semi-pro. He's played in the semi-pro league, too, before coming to the NFL. So.
I think he played the Arena League. He might have played in the USFL or the one of those. Tim Jones, he could be that Trent Sherfield guy this year.
I was just going to say that, yes.
So, and Rondale Moore, if he's healthy.
Moore's making the roster. Moore's making the roster unless he gets injured.
I'm not 100% sure on that one, but Norris finally showed up. About freaking time you showed up. I mean, we changed the damn show so that it's on Norse time, and then you don't show up for the freaking show. So about time you damn got here. Silas Bolden being the last guy there, a little surprising, but he's been dealing with some drop issues and stuff too, the way it sounds. So maybe not so much. Tight ends.
I think Lucky Jackson over Moore he's more, no pun intended. Lucky Jackson is more fluent in the system than what Rondale Moore is at this point.
Well, and Rondale Moore is still coming back from that. He had that bad injury last year, so I don't know that he's at 100% yet, but we'll see what happens the next 3 weeks and we'll go from there, I guess, on this. But we need to have some of these guys step up, whether it's Lucky Jackson, whether it's Rondale Moore, whether it's
that's right,
Bolden, whether whoever.
And Naylor better get his shit together. I'm not liking these stone hands he's showing.
No, he's been very Troy Williamson-esque lately.
Right. You get any sort of contact with him or whatever, or brush up against him, and he's alligator arming balls, and I don't like that. So
yeah, and he's in a contract year, so if he wants to get paid next season, he's going to have to.
If your quarterback's giving you a shot to make a play, then fucking go up and make it.
Right.
So
exactly. Moving on to the tight ends, Hawk obviously is your starter with Josh Oliver as primary backup. And right now, your tight end 3 is Ben Urasek or Giovanni Ricci.
Right.
And tight end 4 is Bryson Nesbitt or Nick Van Nett. So, the bottom end of there is kind of a cornucopia of tight ends, I guess. So we'll have to see how that sorts itself out. But I think Urasek has the inside track as of right now anyway to get that tight end 3. We should not have. Brandon Powell is the same size as Rondale Moore and not as fast. Freaking Jalen Naylor's a big guy. He's tall. He's, got speed.
Never alligator arm my balls. Tightedness. Yeah.
Hey, we're just throwing shit out here and see what sticks tonight. So it's moving on to the offensive line, though. Left tackle, of course, Christian Darrisaw listed as your starter.
Of course.
Backups.
Who's making an exceptional rehab, and I am just amazed at the timetable for his return from ACL and what he's done and how he's been able to really attack that rehab. And we're
barring
looking
any
at having Darisaw.
Yep, barring any setups, he will start week 1, I think. So, Justin School is your primary backup, followed by Logan Brown. Left guard, Donovan Jackson. Of course, the rookie is your starter.
I love the faith they're putting into our first rounder this year.
Yep,
to go out there and really have an impact from day one.
And he's continued to have a solid camp. You know, he's going up against, the tackles that we've got. It's that whole iron
sharpens iron, man.
Trial by fire stuff. If you're going to be able to block these guys, you ought to be just fine.
I mean, over the last 10 years, it's been very seldom that we've really let a first round guy or draft pick come in and really hit the ground running. Mm-hmm. So it's great seeing it with Donovan Jackson this year and them having the trust in him to really just plug and play right away.
Yep. And him proving that he belongs there too. That's even bigger.
Right.
But backups for Jackson right now, Blake Brandel, Joe Huber, and Vershawn Lee. Then moving over into center, Ryan Kelly, of course, your starter. Backup is Michael Juergens is your backup, and Zeke Corral, the undrafted free agent, has also been getting some significant snaps at center as well. I think they kind of like Corral. He probably ends up as one of those guys that's going to end up on the practice squad this year. But
I agree.
Might be a backup center in a year or two. Ryan Kelly moves on, retires or whatever, and if Juergens pans out to be that guy, you kind of just move everybody up the ladder.
I think unless Kelly shits the bed, we got him here 2 for 2 years for sure.
He's on a 2-year deal, so
right.
Next year, most of it's not guaranteed. So if it doesn't work out, we can cut bait, and not be out much. But right guard, Will Fry is, of course, the starter. Henry Bird as the backup. Now, does that stick in the regular season, or do they keep, put Bird onto the practice squad, and then, Brandel can play both positions,
swing.
Backup, swing guy. We'll see how that pans out. But right tackle, of course, Brian O'Neill, and then the aforementioned Walter Rouse, who we talked about earlier. He is the primary backup there. And then Leroy Watson IV is the so we all love us some Leroy Watson IV. So
the fourth.
Huber's a Wisconsin farm boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Brandel's a good backup. He's not starter material, but he's a very solid backup, a guy that you can plug in multiple places.
Yeah,
that versatility
for a good spin guard.
Yeah, the versatility is a key thing for him, is because he can play tackle, he can play guard. So, but that's why we went out and got Donovan Jackson, because we needed a guy who can be a legitimate starter there, and not just a guy that plays decent when you have an all-pro left tackle next to you. But moving over to the defense, starters, of course, on the line, Jonathan Allen, Harrison Phillips, and Javon Hargrave. No big surprise there. Rouse is at tackle, he's not doing guard right now. But the backups on the line, LDR and Jalen Redmond and Tyrion Ingram Dawkins are your 3 backup guys that run the 2. Dawkins is going to make the team. Dawkins is going to make the team.
I think he might see some snaps this season as well.
Yeah,
he's having a hell of a camp.
He is. They're using him a lot on obvious passing downs.
Yeah.
So, and then beyond that, you've got Jonathan Harris, Taki Tiamani, and Travis Bell, and Elijah Williams. So, little surprised Tiamani is that far down in the depth chart.
He's really had a fall from grace. He was looking good last year.
he hasn't really shown out so much in camp so far. And
but that's telling you about your the guys that you've brought in and the depth that we're starting to get.
Yep.
The
And
cream always rises to the top.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
The cream always rises to the top. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
And now I need a drink of water because I just fucked my throat up doing that.
Some of that vocal fry.
Well, it's because of that damn Canadian wild smoke that we keep getting down here, there, bud.
Yeah. I've had me about 2 packs of that Canadian wildfire.
Well, I heard on the radio when I was going into work this morning, they said being out, during the entire day during that smoke is equivalent to smoking half a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's what my asthma's acting up. So
yeah, I'm going to have emphysema by the time the summer's over. But anyway, moving on to the outside linebackers. Of course, Grenard and Van Ginkel are your starters. Your twos are Dallas Turner and Gabe Murphy.
Yeah, Murphy's having a good camp too.
I mean, we talked about him last year when we got, he was that steal that we were getting as an undrafted free agent last year, and he's proven it now. He was hurt.
That edge room is just stacked. I mean, Tyler Batty could be a guy that could make the roster. This edge room is stacked. I'm just going to leave it at that. There's a lot of guys here that could make the roster that aren't going to make the roster. So
yeah, I mean, Batty probably deserves to be on the roster, but I don't think he makes
it right
now.
Richter is another guy that deserves to be on the roster.
Bo Richter, I think, probably makes it. I don't know
if you're carrying 5 edges, but we'll see.
If we carry 5, he would be your 5th right now. But then Chaz Chambliss kind of taking up the rear here. Haven't heard much out of him. Now he was on the pup, the first week, but then out inside linebacker, of course, Blake Cashman and Ivan Pace are your starters. The twos are
looking pretty good.
Eric Wilson and Brian Asamoah right now are your 2s. Kobe King and Austin Keys are your 3s, and then Dorian Mousey is your final guy. Now, I look for Kobe King to overtake Asamoah, but by the time
I was just going to say, I feel about the same way about Asamoah as I do about Ty Chandler at running back 3.
Yeah.
So,
and this is a good point by Dave here. A lot of the stuff right now, the depth chart is because you've got guys that are veterans who have been here.
Yeah, and I was going to mention that as well when we were finishing up here. So, I think we got Zemiah Vaughn listed towards the back of the list too on the depth chart, but that's not indicative of how his training camp is going.
Right. So yeah, since you brought him up, we'll start with the cornerbacks. Cornerback 1 starter is Byron Murphy. Mekhi Blackman is your primary backup, followed by Nooney McLaughlin, Ambry Thomas, and Zemiah Vaughn. So yeah, Zemiah Vaughn is way further down the depth chart than.
Like I said, the guys that we mentioned earlier as our cornerback room are going to be the guys that are probably filling out that cornerback room come season time.
Yep. Cornerback 2, Isaiah Rodgers is your starter there. Jeff Okudah is his primary backup. Then Reddy Stewart and Keenan Garber.
Whoever the fuck those guys are.
Yeah, I couldn't pick those 2 out of an empty room. So
no.
On to safety, of course, Hitman, starter at the 1 safety, Jay Ward, primary backup, followed by Michelle Powell.
Who by all accounts, Jay Ward is having a better camp. I was just talking shit about him last week, and he's coming around. So,
yeah.
And you know what? To be honest, you go back and you watch our older shows a couple of years back, I wasn't very high on Metellus either. And he went out and proved me wrong and made the roster, and here we are today. So, I'm not always right. But 90% of the times I am.
100% of the time, we're right part of the time.
Right.
I mean, now, if we go start talking about Chinese buffets, then, we got it pretty well knocked down.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
And then Gervarius Owens is the other backup to Harrison Smith. On the other side, they have Josh Metellus listed as the starting safety. Of course, he is the Swiss Army knife. Played every position last year except nose tackle. Primary backup is Theo Jackson. I foresee a lot of like we did last year. You're going to see a lot of 3 safety sets with Metellus
and with
doing
that
his thing.
You could see that he's going to have an expanded role on this defense. So
Tavier,
couple that with the loss of Bynum as well, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So
Tavier Thomas is listed behind Theo Jackson. Now he's a converted cornerback. He's a slot guy. So that, he's a guy that stands a really good chance of making the roster, I think, because of that position flexibility. They can have him as a safety, and if they need to kick him back to corner, so it may be one of those cornerbacks doesn't make the roster. It's hard to say at this point.
I like that Proto. Proto put it perfectly.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the basis of the show here, right there.
Right.
That's a good motto for the show.
Yep. Then Khalif Halasi, I don't know him, but pretty sure Metellus had a snap at nose tackle. Maybe he did. I was thinking
he's played tackle.
He's played like 3 tech, 5 tech, but I thought I saw that nose tackle was the only position he didn't play, but I could be wrong on that. I trust you, Dave. You've got more stats in your head than I'll ever be able to remember. So, but regardless, you can line him up anywhere. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, that's just pretty much it. Yeah.
Yep. Special teams, Ryan Wright still listed as a starter at punter, but by all accounts, Oscar Chapman is putting some pressure on him. Now, Chapman, I saw something the other day, and this is kind of interesting. He's got what he calls the banana punt.
Right. That, yeah.
And it's apparently it's really hard to field. They said the one practice, I think Silas Bolden was the only one that was able to. I mean, he caught one of them. Otherwise, because when he kicks it spins it sideways. Yep. So
there's one other guy in the league that punts it like that. And I think it might be the punter from the Titans, but there's one other punter in the league that does a banana punt too, as well.
Yeah, but he doesn't do it all the time, which is what makes it even more effective, because he'll just pull it out. Pull it out in the specific time when you want to try it, just to kind of catch him off guard. So, and I think Oscar Jackson kind of falls underneath that the international player thing too, because he's an Aussie, isn't he? Or
that could be.
He's either an Aussie or a Kiwi. I don't remember exactly where, but somewhere down there. So he falls underneath that international thing. So at the very least, they can keep him around for that. And if Wright struggles, in the season, they could make the switch then, possibly. But long snapper again, Andrew DePaula. No backup there. Listed Will Reichert is your kicker. Reichert. No backup there.
Yep. Dave's with the
starting punt returner right now is Rondale Moore. Your backups: Lucky Jackson, Silas Bolden, and Miles Price. Now, I hadn't heard Lucky Jackson was returning punts, but if he can, that's another aim towards getting him to a spot on this roster. But whoever returns punts this year, I want somebody who can actually fucking return a punt.
Yeah, we've been talking about that for quite some time. We haven't had a good punt returner since Marcus Sherrills.
No, I mean, over the last 3 years combined, I don't think we have 500 return yards in the punt game.
Right.
And that's pathetic.
It is.
So we'll see what comes up there. Just no egg. He's an Aussie. Okay. I knew it was one of the two. I just couldn't remember which one it was, but no eggplant punts. Yeah, those are, those get returned every time, so you got to watch out with those. But and then kick returner Ty Felton is your starting kick returner. Ty Chandler is backup. So that is another thing that doesn't bode super well for Ty Chandler, but and like we talked about earlier, Ty Felton's going to make the roster.
Yeah.
So if he can contribute as a returner, all the better.
There you go. Yeah.
So, but that's where we sit right now with the depth chart. Of course, to finish things off this week, we have a game. We have Minnesota Vikings football, or a reasonable facsimile thereof, at least. On Riley, good evening. What'd you miss? You missed a lot, my friend. You have to go back and watch the rest of it later. But we're just going to talk about the preseason game coming up 3 p.m. Saturday at US Bank Stadium. The Houston Texans come to town. We already talked about J.J. McCarthy is going to play. Don't know how much yet, whether it's a couple of series, whether it's a full quarter. We'll see what happens there. But what do you want to see coming out of this preseason game, Lance?
I'd like to see no turnovers, discipline. The excitement of hitting somebody else with a different fucking jersey on is going to be there for sure. Just seeing the team take the field again after 1 year or after the off season is going to be nice.
Yeah.
So I want to see some progress along some of these guys in their second year, and I'm definitely going to be looking at J.J. McCarthy under a microscope on Saturday. I'm looking forward to seeing that offensive line and how that looks, and then this revamped defense as well. So, no, yeah, exactly, Dave. No major injuries, number one on the list, always. So, yeah, that's about what I'm looking forward to. Everything's vanilla in the preseason, but it all comes down to techniques and things like that. So,
yeah,
coverage unit is gonna be something I'm gonna be looking at as far as defensive backs go. How these corners are looking in coverage. But yeah, and then some of these bubble guys fighting to make the roster, like Lucky Jackson's gonna be a good guy to keep an eye on. Rondale Moore's, so.
Yeah, Riley, good point there.
That's a good thing. The whole fan base doesn't need to be. Then this is the thing that goes back, at least as far as we've been doing the show, is that a lot of people like to burn the house down after watching preseason and expect us that we're not going to be doing shit because our preseason went this way or that way. Well, it's not about that in the preseason.
No.
So
yeah, Knee Jerk Nation just needs to sit down and have another beer and just calm down about the preseason. But I got 4 key points I want to see. First and foremost is if you make mistakes, show that you can learn from it. Like what McCarthy did last year, against the Raiders before he got hurt. He threw that interception, turned right around and came down and led two touchdown drives after that.
Right.
That's the one big one I want to see, especially out of JJ, when he's out there. My second one is I want to see which one of these backup wide receivers is going to step up. Now that we know for sure that we're going to be out without Addison for the first 3 weeks.
Right.
I'm seeing all the stuff out here. People are pushing to go trade with the Panthers to bring Adam Thielen back and all this.
Yeah, a big thing about that is that our running game should take that next step, which is going to help that out quite a bit, significantly. We can lean more on the run game this year than we have been able to in the past 10 years.
And that's the thing, and that was going to be my third point. With the improved offensive line, now granted, Ryan Kelly's not going to play. Darisaw is not going to play. I'm guessing Will Freeze probably doesn't play. But we're going to get to see a lot of Ty Chandler and Xavier Scott and those guys. We're going to want to see, which one of those guys can stake that claim to, make the push for that third running back. They're going to get most of the play. I don't see Aaron Jones playing at all, or if it is, it's very little. So Jordan Mason might get a little bit of run, but they're going to walk that fine line about getting these guys some snaps but not putting them out there in a situation where they're going to get them hurt either. So
yeah.
My third issue is, or the point I want to watch is, can Sam Howell show that he belongs as the backup quarterback here? I want to see how he does out there. Can he have command of the huddle? Can he make the plays? Yes, he's going to be throwing to backups. He's going to be playing against backups, so it's not an apples to apples, but you need to take the opportunities that are given to you and show that you can make the most of them. So, I want to see that he can be that guy, or I want to see that he's not going to be able to be that guy, so we can start making contingency plans, whether it's,
Right.
we talked about earlier, bringing in a Carson Wentz or Ryan Tannehill, or looking to get some off of somebody else's roster. If you know that this isn't going to work, the sooner you can get somebody else in here, the better off you're going to be.
I agree.
So, and then my last one is going to be, how are your depth cornerbacks going to look? Your Nudie McGlothers, your Zamiah Vaughns, your Mekhi Blackmans, those guys. Those are the ones that are going to get a lot of play this week. I don't see it. They haven't announced yet, of course, how many of the starters are actually going to play in this game. I don't look for Murphy to play a whole lot, if any. Okuda should get some run, I would think.
I agree. Yeah, I think so.
So I'd be able to
Blackman
see
especially will be another one that get a lot of playing
Blackman's going to get plenty of run. So I want to see those guys prove that they belong here. Can Okuda keep up with his impressive camp so far? And, maybe getting in that situation. Norris, this is exactly right.
Yes.
Ant mentioned a score prediction earlier. I'm not giving a score prediction because it's almost impossible to predict a score for a preseason game because you don't know what the team's going to do. You don't know how long your ones are going to play. You don't know how long your twos are going to play. I mean, you're going to have threes and fours out there for a good chunk of the game.
Wins and losses mean nothing to me in the preseason.
Yeah. It's always nice to win a game. I mean,
it comes down to the players in the field and what you're seeing there. You know, and the players that are actually going to maybe see the field come regular season.
It's what can you learn about the players that you have? Do you have guys that are deserving to be on the roster? Do you have guys that, aren't a scheme fit that you maybe are questioning already, but when they get out in game, and there may be some guys who, are either struggling in a little bit in practice and they go out in the game and they freaking light it up.
Right.
Or vice versa. Somebody that's had an awesome camp so far goes out under game conditions and shits bad. I mean, it just kind of that.
Yep.
But so yeah, I mean, I'm just excited to see some football and to see how everything's going. And to Dave's point earlier, let's get out of this game with no injuries, and we'll kind of let stuff fall where it may after that. But with that, you got anything else you want to hit tonight, or?
Sounds good. We're hitting over just a little bit over an hour here, so.
Yep. So with that, want to thank everybody for joining us again tonight. As always, you guys bring in the comments and the discussion points in the chat. Always a lot of knowledge rolling through there and a lot of great questions. Programming note for next week, it'd be Thursday night again next week. Going to be a later night show again. Just because of Brunswick's work schedule, but we're going to be shooting for probably a 10 to 10:30 show next Thursday where we'll preview preseason game number 2.
Go over what we've seen this last week.
Yeah, we'll go over that and we'll kind of see where things lay. The first joint practice will have been over by that time. So stay tuned for that. If anything changes, we'll keep you guys updated. But with that, thank you again so much, everybody, for joining us. All you guys in the chat. The Filipino fan club was here earlier again. Thank you for watching halfway around the world. George, welcome to the show. Better late than never. But anyway, thank you guys. And with that, why don't you take us out of here, Lance?
Yeah, thanks again, guys. We appreciate every single one of you there in the comment section and the ones that also watch after the live shoots. So I'm looking forward to finally getting back on the field this weekend and seeing what these guys can do and seeing who's taking that leap forward and who's taking a couple steps back. But with that being said, here's to the start of the preseason this weekend and getting back to watching some football. Aubrey, Millie, if you're out there watching, Dad loves and misses you. Skol.
Have a great weekend, everybody.